Okay, good afternoon, everybody. With the consent all of you, we are recording this session. Here, up to now, 45 participants already attended, and I think some instruction Mohammad Rajaul Karim sir already given to you regarding attendance issue, because we are giving e-certificate for the students as well, our faculty members who are joined here. So this is, I think, very helpful for you. Such type of program will helpful for your education life, and such type of experience you are gathering from this session, you can apply for your practical field as well. And today our keynote speaker, Dr. Muhammad Sharif Hassan, and I will give his biography to you. And for this particular session, you have some benefits as well. You are giving the e-certificate, as well as study material will be available for you, and video recording session will be available for you as well. And this particular webinar is conducted or organized by Department of Business Administration, Faculty of Business, Shanto-Mariam University of Creative Technology. And today, before I started, I welcome here our respected head, Department of Business Administration, Dr. Behzat Noor sir. And Walaikum Assalam, sir. And I am requesting sir to say something in front of the student regarding the benefit of such type of program. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum to everybody. First of all, I would like to give thanks to one of the scholars from our department who is right now at Malaysia, MD Rajaul Karim sir, for arranging such type of session. Undoubtedly, I'd like to thanks to you. And then Dr. Sharif sir, from the bottom of my heart, I'm giving you the thanks on behalf of the department for being here and for your kind consent that you have given to conduct the session. It will definitely be very much helpful for all the faculty members, because I have already seen a while ago that the title of the seminar, the scholar, somewhere the scholar word has been attached. So all the faculty members will definitely be very much benefited, who are pursuing their MPhil and PhD degree and are very much anticipating to be enrolled to the PhD or MPhil degree. And especially for the students, especially the students who are right now in the 12th semester, they are going to get the either thesis or internship report to complete their internship or the 12th semester, both in BBA and MBA program. So it's a really a mega webinar. The results are already stated for us. So, however, I'm not going to talk much because I've been caught by severe cold and my already voice has been down. So I would like to suggest all the seers, all the students from 9, 10, 11, 7 to 12 semester from BBA program, and the 3rd and 4th semester from MBA program, to ask or to request the rest of your mates, that is the classmates, to join the session to get the real flavor of research. Both in the BBA and MBA program, the students who have already joined here, with them, I have already conducted a course titled Research Methodology, and there you have already find at least a base regarding the matter of preparing internship report or dissertation or thesis, starting from the formulating a research problem to analyzing the collected data, applying specific software, and driving all the findings towards enclosing your recommendations towards preparing the either internship report or any type of dissertation, however, or thesis. But today, I think it will be more and more helpful to shining all of your previous knowledge and skills that you have gathered from this particular course, both of the students of BBA program and MBA program, that you have already gathered from the course, as I said, search methodology. So, Dr. Ibn Sharif Hassan sir, welcome to the session. And the next platform I'd like to give to Mr. Sharif Hassan sir for starting the session. Thank you very much. And hopefully all the students will be benefited. There is no doubt on the matter. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vedatnur sir. Before starting, Mr. Sharif Hassan sir, I want to give his profile to the student, or I just explain his biography in front of the student. Okay, can you see the shared screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Muhammad Sharif Hassan is a dedicated academic and researcher specializing in financial technology, technology management, behavioral finance, and financial services. He is currently serving as a Fintech faculty member at the School of Accounting and Finance, Taylor's University, Malaysia. Dr. Hassan earned his PhD in finance from the Faculty of Business and Communication at University Malaysia, Perlis. His academic journey also includes a BBA in finance from East West University and an MBA in accounting and information systems from the University of Dhaka. With over 6 years of corporate experience and more than 2 years of academia, Dr. Hassan brings a unique blend of industry and research expertise. His professional background includes serving as a people manager before transitioning into academia in 2020, when he joined the Department of Business Administration at the University of Asia Pacific as a lecturer. As a prolific researcher, Dr. Hassan has contributed significantly to the field, authoring and co-authoring 35 journal articles, one book chapter, and 2 conference papers in internationally peer-reviewed publications and conferences. His research interests revolve around the dynamic interplay between finance and technology, with a strong focus on emerging trends in financial innovation. Dr. Hassan is a fellow of the Life Office Management Association, USA, and holds a certified Lean Kaizen practitioner certification from Kaizen Institute, Malaysia, underscoring his commitment to continuous improvement and operational excellence. With a passion for advancing knowledge in financial technology and behavioral finance, Dr. Hassan continues to contribute to academia and research, shaping the future of fintech education and research.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, thank you. Now I am giving the floor to our respected fellow, Dr. Muhammad Sharif Hassan, and I am requesting him to start the session, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed sir. It was such a nice bio. And assalamu alaikum to everyone. I would like to give my thanks and gratitude to organizing this session and inviting me as a keynote speaker for this event. I'm really looking forward to share my experience with you. And such a warm welcome from Professor Dr. Bezat sir. It was nice to be here, and hopefully, I'm junior than you. I'll try to give. I think you already taught a lot of things to the students in research methodology course, but I will try my best. That what I have learned from my PhD and research activities, I want to share a bit of it. I know most of the participants are from bachelor's and master's. I will try to keep it simple so that everyone can understand. So I'll be welcoming more questions than I'm ready to answer. So if you have any confusions, you can ask me, you can ask in the chat box if you are shy, but don't be shy with me because it's okay. If you're not okay with asking the question in English, we can do this session in Bengali also. So ultimate goal of this webinar is to actually get yourself introduced to the thesis, how to write a thesis. So some normally I know when we had thesis, it feels like it's too boring, right? It's too boring. What I will do with this thesis? I'm not a researcher. I'm not going to the academia field. Why I need this? I think this question comes first into the mind of MBA or BBA students. Especially if you ask me, I feel like that when I did my BBA and master's. But eventually, when I did this thesis, I feel like I have learned a lot of things which actually helped me when I started my career in a multinational company. So even during my interview session, when they see that I have done thesis instead of internship, they were very surprised to see that I am doing thesis in my BBA also. So with your permission, Prof. Dr. Behzad, shall I start the session now?
Please, sir. Please, sir. One thing I would like to add, that though perhaps you are junior than me, but you have been way, way ahead. So congratulations from the bottom of the heart. Please, sir, start the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So I would like to share my screen now. Yeah. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yeah, sir, it's visible. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So basically, this slide is about 79 slides. I think this total presentation is 79 slides, but I will keep it a short. You can say this is a summarized version of the whole thing. I'll try to keep it simple so that you can understand what are the elements and key components of thesis writing. So as I was mentioning, why do we need to do a thesis? It's not actually for academia, but also it was quite helpful if you are looking to join a company or any multinational company or industrial company. Why I say like this? Because, thesis is normally we think this is an written work resulting from your original research, which we normally submit for higher degree in a university. So if you think of this thesis or any assignments you are doing during your BBA and MBA, you'll find it sometimes you feel like what we will do with this. What is beneficial for us? Actually, through thesis or any other assignments you are doing during your BBA and MBA, it's actually we actually try to assess whether you are disciplined, whether you are you have the critical thinking capability. Are you punctual? Do you know how to write a proposal? Because when you are in an industry, you will find that they will ask you to prepare reports. So if you have a very good understanding that how to prepare a report, then it will be very easy for you when you're presenting your ideas in front of the senior members in your company. So I must say it's not only for academia to do research and finding out result and write it in a thesis format. Rather than there are some components also in the industry where you need this type of writing. Also, because these theses actually make you discipline, and it is very strategic how you're writing from introduction to conclusion. There are some phases. So by following those phases, it will be easier for you to actually prepare reports even for your industry. I believe that most of the BBA and MBA aspirants always think of joining any multinational companies or industries or doing a business. So even though this thesis writing also really helps you when you are in your industry, because I worked for industry for 6 years. So I can relate that how it helped me especially when I did the analysis part and interpret those results. This actually helped me during my interview, as well as when I worked as a people manager in the company. It really helped me to get the promotion very quickly because of this skill that was developed during the BBA period or MBA period. So thesis is actually like a book. You can say it's a detailed document where you try to address a problem or series of problems and describes what was known about the problems and what you did to solve the problems. So if you want to, I just want to share one of my experience during my industry experience. So from regional office, our team came and asked the operations department to actually reduce some of the cost. Either you increase the revenue or reduce the cost. So how you're gonna do it, we don't know. So they also train us how to find the root causes of a problem. So as you can see in my bio, I am also a Lean Kaizen practitioner. So I got this practitionering license during that period actually. So there is a Kaizen Institute in Malaysia who came to the company and actually trained us that how to find out the problem and how to actually get results from it and how to prepare reports from that. So our task was to address the problem or identify some of the problems or some of the cost that we can actually avoid. So we try to find out things even from printing to all other things. So one of my project was that we see eventually we're printing a lot of documents and giving to the customers, and customer doesn't understand a single word of that. So we just reduce the printing. Do you know how much we saved in 24 stations? We saved around $1,000 every month just by reducing the number of printing. So in thesis, actually you are going to find out the idea, find out the problem that you are having in the practical scenario, and you might come out with a solution that you are presenting to the audience. Okay. So what are the characteristics of a good thesis writing? It should be clear and concise. So in some of the thesis, you will find the thesis is very long. It's a book, right? Around 100 pages or 125 pages. But not necessarily it needs to be long. It should be clear and concise so people can easily understand what you are trying to do. Sometimes what happened that we don't understand, for example, you are writing a research on, have you heard about cryptocurrency? Anyone heard about cryptocurrency?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is a cryptocurrency?
So
Okay.
it's a digital currency, sir,
Yeah.
which transaction we can track actually.
Yeah. So I know cryptocurrency is not not yet available in Bangladesh. It's not legal yet. Maybe, but maybe in the near future it may be legal. So, for example, you are doing on cryptocurrency, and when you are writing, you are talking about digital finance. You are just talking about digital finance. So what will happen? People will not understand what is your actual topic. So it's very important to make it clear. Obviously, you talk about the vast nature of digital finance, then you come to cryptocurrency, obviously. But don't write too much that people won't be able to understand what you are trying to do, right? So it should be clear and concise so that the general audience can understand what are you actually doing and what are the objectives of your study and what are the findings. So make sure when you are writing a thesis, it should be readable by all of the audience. It should be well structured. Obviously, it should follow a logical sequence. That sequence we are going to talk in the rest part of this webinar. And obviously, one of the important aspects of this good thesis that it should have some originality. So, but I understand at your level in masters and BBA, it's quite difficult to actually go at that level and try something very new that we need to do during our PhD, or when you are publishing papers in a very good journal. We need to have very, very unique originality of the study. But at your stage, I feel like it's okay that you can replicate a study and try to do the same study that has been conducted in India. Maybe you can implement in Bangladesh. That is also a contribution from your part. Another important aspect is that you use proper citations. I know some of the teachers actually encourage students to put references and follow maybe APA style to give reference when you are taking something from a journal or a newspaper or any other sources. So it's very important that when you are saying something, it should be properly cited, because uh, if you say that Bangladesh is the richest country in the world, and if you don't have any citation or reference, then this sentence is not valid. When you are arguing about something and telling a very strong statement, it should be backed by proper references. And finally, you should maintain a formal academic tone. The tone should be very professional, and then obviously another one I think I missed here, and the formatting is very important, that you need to follow the format that has been advised by the institute. So any questions so far?
No, sir.
So do you understand whatever I am saying,
Yes, sir.
or I need to slow down? If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay.
So now we move on to the key elements of or key components of a thesis. So you will be doing thesis very soon. So make sure you have all these 8 components in your thesis. At least this one is the at least. Obviously, you will be having title base. That one I don't include a title base. Then you will have table of contents. You may have other things also. List of figures, list of tables. It's up to you. But I am talking about the main elements in a thesis. So there are 8 main elements in thesis. First of all is the abstract. Abstract, you can say, is like the executive summary of your whole report, which talk about the problem, talk about the objectives, your analysis method, your findings, and finally your contribution. So normally it is written within 300 words. 250 to 300 words is good enough to write an abstract for a thesis. So there are total 5 chapters in a thesis. So the first chapter is introduction. Second chapter is literature review. Third chapter is methodology. Fourth chapter is results and findings. And finally, the fifth chapter is discussion and conclusion. And it will be followed by references and appendix. So these are the 8 theses. So before proceeding to writing a thesis, what will be the title of the thesis? So again, it is quite difficult task, I know, finding a thesis topic. You may find a very good thesis topic in Nilkhet, right? But just this time avoid looking title from Nilkhet, rather than try to find your interest area where you want to do research, something you admire. If you are a person who are doing whose major is in finance, you can look into financial sustainability. If your area in HR, you can look into HR in marks. So it's up to you that you can choose you or a master's student who is doing MBA. I will try to visit Google Scholar. You already know what is Google Scholar, where you can find different papers from different journal articles, book chapters, or you will find from conference papers. Just write down what you are interested in. Just write down any specialization topic. So for example, you want to do in financial sustainability, or you want to do on sustainability, you will be finding different papers. So I would suggest you at least go through 5 papers. Download 5 topic names that that is very interesting to you. Just download it and try to read it. I think you can get a very good topic from that. So as I already mentioned that it will be easy for you at this stage, it will be easy for you to start doing a replica study or replicate study. So try to find a topic that you're interested in, put it in Google Scholar. And just for your example, I can show you. Just go to Google Scholar. For example, this one. Okay. And for example, you want to do in employee satisfaction. So when you find employee satisfaction, there are different kind of studies in employee satisfaction. So better you select a range, because these are very old studies. So you can select the range from where you want to find the paper, from which year. So if you put since 2021, so you will get different kind of studies from 2021 and onwards. Okay. So one of the challenge when you are doing this, that some of these papers you cannot access. So Mahbub sir, do we have the access to Elsevier or Emerald from library?
Sir, right now we don't have. Don't have. So far as I have been informed. Mahbub sir?
Yes, sir.
You have the access?
We have, I think, the limited access we have.
We have limited access, right?
But do the students have this access?
I think so.
Okay. So if you can access these papers, because some of the papers are open access, you can easily download. But some of the papers are restricted. So that one, it's very difficult to find out. But there is always alternative ways to find papers. But at least I will tell that you just click one paper, and after clicking, just just go through the abstract of the paper. So if you like the abstract, just try to download the paper of your interest. So by following this way, I think you can at least find 5 papers that in your interest area and come up with the title from that papers. So normally my suggestion to very young researcher or doing first time, I say, please select a standard paper that you want to follow. So please select a standard paper from a very good publisher like Elsevier or Emerald or Wiley or Taylor or Francis. So there are several good publishers in academia. So just select one standard paper that you want to follow or that you want to replicate. Just follow that paper format and it will be easier for you when you are writing in your own words. Okay. So another important aspect of this title selection is that the titles should reflect what you are trying to do. It should reflect from the saying that what you are trying to do. For example, you want to do student satisfaction survey. Student satisfaction survey. So it should be clear that when I say student satisfaction survey, it doesn't have any context. But if I say that factors affecting the student satisfaction among private university students in Bangladesh. So from the title, we can say this study is on student satisfaction from Bangladesh private universities. So make it simple, make it very clear and concise so that the audience can easily understand that what you are trying to do. For example, there is an example for you that, for example, IPO underpricing and earning management among the listed companies in Bangladesh. So make sure, I think you are already familiar with independent variable and dependent variable. So make sure you have the dependent variable in your title. So dependent variable is actually your problem that you are looking for. So make sure, because for example, this example that has been given, IPO underpricing and earnings management, it means that we want to see the effect of IPO underpricing on earnings management. So earning management here is the dependent variable and IPO underpricing is the independent variable. So just like it, if you have more than one independent variable, maybe you can use that factors affecting the earnings management among the listed companies in Bangladesh. So try to be very specific and accurate. And one important thing that you should avoid the jargon and acronym. You cannot use the jargon or acronym in your thesis title. So anyone have questions?
No,
No
sir.
question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is, now we begin our chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the introduction. So in introduction, normally we need to have these elements. So this is the format that we follow during our PhD. It's not necessarily that you need to have all the elements, but there are some elements that is a must. For example, background of the research, statement of the problem, research objectives, questions, scope of the study, and significance of the study must be in your thesis. This is a must. But introduction, definition of key terms, organization of the thesis or report, you can omit that. It's not a problem. But the major parts you need to cover in your introduction section. So considering your level, I just directly move to the background of the study. So normally in background of the study, you need to talk about the general version of the problem. For example, you are doing your study on fintech. If you are doing your study in financial technology, or if you are doing your study in mobile payment system. So you can start your background. In general, you can talk about what is the subject area of study. So if you are talking about fintech, you generalize, give some statements about fintech. Okay, just give a brief idea what fintech is and how different people has defined fintech. Then you can move on to some of the characteristics of this fintech. Then you can talk about some of the benefits of this fintech. But however, moving forward, you need to somehow link this fintech to your context. So for example, if you are talking about, for example, employee turnover. So normally you are talking about employee turnover first, how normally employee turnover occurs. It can be voluntary, non-voluntary, and how it actually impacts the organization you discuss. Then, for example, your study is focused on the banking industry. So moving on, you just move forward to the banking industry and talk about the turnover in banking industry is quite high. From a global perspective, we have found that in bank industry, the employee turnover rate is 20%, which is highest among the other industries. So this is how you make a transition from very general topic to your specific context. Okay, in background, you need to answer what is the subject area of the study. So in your case, the subject area is employee turnover, and what is the background of the subject studied and why it is important and worthy of study. So basically in the background, you need to talk about your original topic and try to make your audience or reader feel like what is so special about this study. So sometimes we call it that in background, you need to talk about the research motivation. What motivates you to actually do a study on employee turnover? So it's very important how you are going to link this. So from general to very specific, and try to make it look like that it is very important to study. So it should be in your background of the study. So start from a general perspective of employee turnover, then move on to the banking industry and what are the current scenario in banking industry. You can give some statistics. You can give some regional statistics, like if you are doing a study in Bangladesh, you can give statistics of other neighboring countries like India, and then Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Maldives. What are the scenario in these countries? So you can get a comparison. So make sure in your background you have all these kind of things. So normally, what is the word range for your thesis? Anyone have an idea? What is the word range? Word range? How many words? Is there any word limit for your thesis?
Maybe there are no word limits.
Excuse me. For our BBA program and MBA program, they have internship. That means they have to prepare report on last semester, right? And we have one instruction for them. The total words would be 5,000 plus minus 10%.
Okay. So if it is like 5,000 plus minus 10%, that means it's a very small thesis. Okay. So we will stick to the thesis and try to actually have all the elements within this 5,000 words. So maybe your background of the study maybe within 200 to 300 words is good enough. Maybe 1 page to 1.5 page. Then after the background of the study, you need the statement of the problem. So this one is the very critical part of any research, identifying the problem. Sir, I think your mic is on. Okay, so the statement of the problem is very important because you need to justify that what you are researching is genuinely a problem. So for your case, what you need to do is to identify how it is a problem. For example, I was talking about the employee turnover rates. So for example's sake, I'm telling that if the if from the comparison, if you find that the turnover rate in Bangladesh is higher compared to the neighboring countries, that means this is a problem. This is a problem. So how you are justifying your problem that comparing to the other neighboring countries, the number of turnover is very high in Bangladesh. So when you are telling that, you are actually justifying the problem. So in a thesis, normally we try to have two kinds of problem. One is practical problem and another one is academic or research gaps. So for your case, I think you can stick to a very specific problem because this statement of the problem is the point of any research. So you are actually talking about the dependent variable you are working on. So if your dependent variable is employee turnover, just focus on employee turnover. And after this, just move on to the research gaps. This research gap could be that you find there are very few studies on employee turnover in Bangladesh banking industry. So this study is going to actually cover the gap in the literature. So I think for your research problem, you can have additionally another 300 words, 300 to 400 words for your statement of the problem to justify your problem. So remember that this statement of the problem is the description of an issue currently existing that needs to be addressed. That means this is a burning issue now and it needs to be addressed from your research. So there is another technique of 5 Ws that you can follow to write a problem statement: who, what, where, when, and why. It's a 5W approach. So you ask the question and you are going to get an answer. So this is one of the approaches that you can follow. But for myself, I normally suggest just try to find a statistics to actually identify the problem or to justify the problem. So normally I give an example when I normally teach my PhD students that what is actually problem and what are the issues. So normally when, for example, if you feel like that you are not feeling well, and when you put your hand in your forehead, you feel like it's quite warm or hot. So obviously, at certain point when you are feeling very bad, what you will do? You will go to the doctor. So when you go to the doctor will use the thermometer to check your temperature. After putting the thermometer, the result may be 102 or 103 degree Fahrenheit. So after seeing this 102 or 103 degree Fahrenheit, he will say that you have a fever. You have a very high fever. So when you find the symptom, you are not sure this is actually a fever. But when you go to the doctor and doctor, after checking with the thermometer, he said you have a fever, then you are you can see that you have a problem. And for your case, the problem is the fever. The problem is the fever. And how you justify your problem? That is statistics from the thermometer reading. It tells you have 102 degree Fahrenheit of fever. You see how you are justifying your problem. It should be backed by some statistics or some statements from maybe published in newspaper or articles. So now you're sure you have fever, but do we know what is the reason of this fever? Do we know the issues of this fever? We don't know yet. We just know that we have a fever. So the issues here, the issue could be like, this is the reason of maybe, it can be, what is this? It could be chikungunya, right? It could be malaria. It could be other viruses. So you don't know what is the reason. So the the fever is the problem and the issues are the independent variable. So the fever or the problem is the dependent variable and the issues behind it are the independent variables. For example, for any virus, you got this fever. So virus or bacteria here is the independent variable and the fever is the dependent variable. So you need to find out what is your dependent variable and what are the possible independent variables for your case. For example, for your case, if it is a employee turnover, one of the independent variable can be employee dissatisfaction. Employee dissatisfaction. So as they are dissatisfied, there is a chance of employee turnover. When employees are dissatisfied, there is a chance of employee turnover. So this is the way you talk about the issues that you find from the literature, from any publications. Try to justify your problem from that. Justify the problem first and try to figure out the issues behind this problem. So this is your task in the statement of the problem part. So if employee turnover is a problem, and if you have any publications from anywhere you find out that employee dissatisfaction or low compensation, these are the common reasons for this employee turnover, then you can say these are the issues behind this employee turnover. So moving on, after writing the research problem, you need to write the research questions. And this one is very straightforward. For example, in your case, employee turnover is the dependent variable and employee dissatisfaction is one of the independent variable. So how to write a research question? So I just want to show you with this example, then you can relate when you are writing the original one. For example, independent variable is employee dissatisfaction and dependent variable is employee turnover. So what will be your research question? So we have to write the research question like this. Does employee dissatisfaction affect employee turnover? So this is the way you write your research questions. So, or in another way, you can think of this, that does IV means independent variable, affect the DV. You can follow this format to easily write a research questions. So there are two schools of thoughts, obviously. Some say you can aggregate all the variables together and write a research question. And another school of thought says that you can separate each independent and dependent variable. So it's up to you actually what you want to follow. But for me, I suggest this approach because it will be easier for you when you're writing your chapter 5. So followed by, after research question, we have research objectives. So where you need to list down at least 2 or 3 research objectives. So for example, for this research question, what would be the research objective? To determine whether employee dissatisfaction affects employee turnover. So this is how you write the research question. So first you have research question. So you can write based on the discussion on from the research problem. We have come to this research question, then list down your research question. And after that, you have research objectives, which is another element of the thesis. So you just follow the same structure as research question in research objective. So the way I'm telling, if you have 2 or 3 research questions, then you must have 3 research objectives. Any questions? Okay. So after finishing these research objectives, you need to talk about the significance of the study. So normally in significance of the study, you just need to have different 2 types of significance. One is theoretical significance and another one is practical significance. So this theoretical significance can be what is new in your study. So I understand in your case, there wouldn't be so much of theoretical significance. However, you can just write that what you are doing in the context of Bangladesh is very rarely studied by any other scholars. So it would be a contribution to you in terms of theoretical contribution significance. And another one would be the practical significance, where you talk about how this study can be helpful to others. For example, we are doing on employee turnover in banking industry. So try to find out who are the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the banking institutions, right? The stakeholders are the banking employees. So try to have some implications of this study. So actually, if the study had been run in banking among the banking employees, and you come to a result where you find that compensation has an impact on the employee turnover, that means the low compensation we are talking about, then actually this banking institution can increase their benefits for the employees. So this is how your study could be helpful to a specific company to actually articulate their strategies. So try to find out at least two significance from your results or from the study. Who will be benefited from your study? So then you must have the scope of the work. So what is the scope? This scope can be it's very important because you need to identify who will be your unit of analysis. So when you are talking about unit of analysis, we are actually talking about who are the respondents, who will be the respondents of your study. Is it the employees or is it the employers? Is it the customers? So, or is it anyone? What would be the geographic area? Is it in Bangladesh or is it only in Dhaka? Is it in any other country? So you need to specify that things. What is the coverage? So it is normally advisable to narrow down a topic. Narrow down does not mean less work. It comprehends in depth of an issue. So when you are actually narrowing down, it's very good. It doesn't mean that your work is very small. Rather, you are very specific to a specific topic. So that we can generalize the results. It will be easier for us to generalize the result. So you need, at this part, scope of the study, you need to talk about who are your respondents, what is the coverage area of the study. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. So moving on to literature review chapter. So literature review, I know this is the most, sometimes people say it's the most boring part of a thesis, where you actually need to find out the earlier studies and try to find out the gaps from the study. So these are the normally outlines of literature review. I think just I talk about the format. Here, when you are writing a literature review, you start your dependent variable. So if you are talking about employee turnover, so start talking about employee turnover and try to find out the studies for studies on employee turnover. It will be very good if you can find study that is very related to your topic, like employee turnover in banking industry. So try to find out the paper, and what are the important elements of that paper is that what the authors has actually studied. Why did they study? What is the contribution of the study, and what is the limitations of the study? So this is the standard format when we are doing PhD or master's in thesis, master's by research. But however, in your case, you can just add some of the studies related to your topic. And after, for example, you can have 3 or 4 studies, what they have found. And finally, you can come to a point what is the limitation of those studies. Try to link that. So you can start with the definition. We can then followed by some importance of employee turnover. And then you can move to earlier studies and how these things are related to your context of the study. You can have that. So the same thing you need to follow in case of independent variables. So first start with dependent variable, that would be employee turnover, followed by some of the independent variables that could be employee dissatisfaction, low compensation, okay? Stress, it could be stress can have an impact. So just write down the individual independent variables, and from the past literature, try to find out the relationship between these two variables, whether stress have an impact on employee turnover. So try to accumulate all at least 4 to 5 studies from the past where it says that stress have an impact on employee turnover. So you list down and try to find out the gap of these problems. And finally, try to relate this thing with your study. Relate this thing with the context. Okay. So in your case, the moderating, mediating variables, I think it's not needed, or the control variables are not needed. Just you try to, you need to follow the structure. First start with dependent variable. Then you talk about the independent variables. Finally, you come to a point when you need to write about a theory. So this is a very important part in case of thesis writing. So you need to actually find out a theory that is related to your study. So what is the easiest way? So when you are actually going through the past studies, you will find they are referring to some theories. So you select a theory that most related to your topic. Okay. So if you feel that it is related to Maslow's hierarchy theory of needs, you can use Herzberg theory. It depends on the scenario, which independent variables you are taking. The most related thing you choose as a, you have to choose a theory where you find most of your independent variables. So if you find a theory, you find that this satisfaction, dissatisfaction thing, compensation things are available, then you chose that theory. Okay. So finally, actually, you need to find out the research gap. So first with dependent variable, then independent variable, then theory. And finally, you need to come up with the research gaps. So you can write down this research gap as a statement in your case, because the word limit is only 5,000. You can just write in a sentence what are the gaps that you find from the literature. So there are some readings that you can do. I will provide this slide. So there are some order that you can follow while writing the literature review. So I was talking about the underpinning theory. So there should be a separate section to discuss theories that underpin your research work. So this is the theoretical framework that you want to have after you have talked about the research gaps and theory. So after doing all of this, you come to a point. So this theory, this framework, this is called research framework. This is actually actually for theory of planned behavior. This research framework is for theory of planned behavior. So where you can see there are three independent variables that are moving to intention, and finally from intention it is going to use behavior. So after all these things, you need to have this theoretical framework, and after that you need to come out with the hypothesis. So you see, so for your case, the hypothesis will be followed by this research question or objectives. So the hypothesis one for this case can be that there is a positive relationship between employee dissatisfaction and employee turnover. So this will be your hypothesis. So you see, from research question to research objective to hypothesis, it's all related. It's all related. So make sure you need to understand from chapter 1 to chapter 5, everything is related. So chapter 1 is actually the whole summary of your thesis. That what you intend to do in the rest of the chapters. So after the theoretical framework, you will have the hypothesis. You can list down, maybe in your case, if you have three independent variables, there will be three hypotheses like this. So this theoretical framework is actually for a study on internet abuse, factors affecting internet abuse at workplace. So these are the three independent variables: attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control. And the dependent variable is internet abuse. So as you can see, this is a thesis from one of the students under my prof. So you see, always there will be the dependent variable in your title. So internet abuse is the dependent variable. It should be in your title. Make sure it have. And where it is intending, the context is the workplace. So these are the hypotheses for this study. So there are different ways you can write actually hypothesis. So as you can see, there are three types of examples for you. You can see. So finally, you can conclude the chapter just giving one paragraph, what you have found and what you have used for your study. So we'll now move on to the research methodology. So I just want to share this slide with you that in the research methodology part, I think these elements are quite important for you. It could be research design, research methods, population of the study and unit of analysis, sample technique and justification, sample size, data collection methods, data analysis. So I think you already have studied about qualitative study and quantitative study already. Prof has given you lectures on that. I want to keep it short, so I just want to focus what elements you need in your thesis. So I think for you can start from research design. So there are several types of research design. Some are reporting. This one is actually for, you can say it's for the internship reports. So in case you are reporting something, so normally when you are doing research internship reports, we are focusing on the ratio analysis. We do some ratio analysis and give the results. So it could be like reporting. It could be descriptive. Sometimes we do some descriptive study that we have asked questions, and based on the response, we can just give bar graph or histogram to show the results. There is predictive, explanatory, and exploratory. So normally we use explanatory or exploratory research. So based on your type of research, anyone you can follow, explanatory or exploratory. So you can use qualitative research. As you know, qualitative research and quantitative research is quite different. Normally, qualitative research are observation-based most of the cases. It could be a focus group discussion. It could be interviews. And it is sometimes open-ended questions. You ask the participants or open-ended questions to answer, and you get the observations from their thoughts. And in quantitative research, normally who are from finance and accounting try to use the secondary data from annual reports or from Bloomberg, and from marketing or management or multidisciplinary, we use survey questionnaires, but normally we use the Likert scale. It can be from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So mixed method research is not for you. It's normally for the PhD students or the students who are focused more on research. They use the mixed method approach. So I must say for your case, quantitative research is more appropriate in your case because it is quite straightforward and easier for you. So unit of analysis, this one you need to identify in your scope in chapter 1. It can be individual, it can be household, it can be organization, it can be department. So in your case, try to do for individuals because getting information from a company is quite difficult. Rather, you can choose some topic that is related to students or general customers. That would be easier for you. So make sure to justify who are the unit of analysis in your study. So this is a framework that is very important to understand the how to find out the sample. So if you are studying only on Shanto-Mariam University, so Shanto-Mariam University will be your population. So if you want to study on Shanto-Mariam University business faculty, then the full business faculty will be your population. So if you want to do a research on private universities, then all the 113 or 103 universities will be your population. So it's actually up to you what is the breadth and width of your research. So if it is within Shanto-Mariam University, the population will be Shanto-Mariam University students. And what could be the sampling frame? The sampling frame can be students from different faculties, from engineering, from business. And then finally, you chose some as your sample. So actually, this sample is chosen in different ways. There are different techniques. But I feel like in your case, it's not that mandatory to justify why the sample size is like this. Rather, you should mention who are the population and who are your samples. You can say my population is Shanto-Mariam University of Creative Technology students, but my sample is from business faculty. Okay, and from business faculty, you have chosen people. Maybe you can use simple random sampling. Okay. So there are two types of sampling methods. That is, there is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. And under these methods, you will find different kinds of techniques. Normally, when you just difference between probability and non-probability is when you have the list of the participants, list of the population, then you can say I am using probability sampling. But when you don't have the list of the names, you are using non-probability sampling. So the most popular one that we use in non-probability sampling is purposive sampling, or some cases people use convenience sampling. And in probability sampling, these simple, systematic, and stratified are quite popular. So it's up to you that which one you want to choose based on your study context. So determining the sample size, I think there are several ways you can find the minimum sample size. There is G-power software. You can just put in how many independent variables and how many arrows, and then you can find the minimum sample size. But in your case, I will say that just how many you can collect, just put that my sample size is like this. Don't need to justify in a in your level of thesis. So these are some of the tables that we follow when we collect. This is Crazy Morgan table, and there is Sekran and Boggy table. So this is for non-probability samplings, because when we don't have the list of these participants or the target population, we actually follow this format to identify how many minimum sample size do we need to run the analysis. So then you can start for data collection. So data collection for secondary data is obviously any kind of secondary source like annual reports would be Bloomberg. Then for primary data, it can be interview, focus group discussion, survey with questionnaire. So normally you are going to follow this one. Survey with questionnaire, it will be close-ended question. You can use the Google form, you can use the physical one. It's up to you how you are going to do. So make sure sometimes to make sure to select your participants very carefully, because if someone is answering all 5 or all 4 or all 3, then you are not going to get a good result. So make sure when you're collecting the data, the respondents are answering properly after reading the questions. So you also need to mention how you are going to analyze your data. So in case if you are using, I suggest at least use one software for your analysis. I'm sure you will be learning one software, at least SPSS. SPSS is very easy and widely available in Bangladesh also. At least do a regression analysis, at least. Then it will really help you when you are going to the job sector. When they know that you know SPSS, when they know you have experience working in Tally, it will give a advantage to you that you know some of the softwares already. So try to learn one software at least. It could be SPSS. SPSS is very general and easy one. So do learn this and how to do, especially do the regression analysis. So after writing this data analysis part, you are moving to the data analysis and findings. So in data analysis and findings, there are certain parts I think you are not familiar yet in some of the parts. So in data and analysis part, you need to summarize your, not summarize, you need to interpret your results only. For example, you can have a descriptive table. In descriptive table, you can have that respondents profile. In respondents profile, you can say how many male or how many female, what are the age range, are they employed or not employed. So you can have different parameters for you can choose, and followed by some of the tables that we need to run the hypothesis test. So for that, I think you need to follow the structure. If you are following SPSS, use the SPSS protocol. If you are using Smart PLS, this is quite advanced for you. Maybe you follow the Smart PLS format. So normally in business research, when we are doing some behavioral research, we normally use now Smart PLS. So this one, I actually not going, I'm not going to discuss more, because this one, it depends upon how you are, which software you are choosing and how you are going to interpret. So normally that there is obviously some suggestions that when you are presenting the data, present the data in a table or in a graph. Okay. In a table, in a graph. So if you are providing a table for a data, do not need, it is not required that you need to give a graph also. So if you are using a table, give just table. If you want to use the graph, only provide the graph. Make sure you have figure number, table number, and the title of the table and figure. You just write for every table number and figure number. And interpretation of the data is very important. So when you are talking about even your respondents of the profile, you need to come to a conclusion or your own thoughts that you find from the analysis. For example, you're doing a research on student satisfaction, and after interpreting the results, you find that most of your respondents are from second semester, and most of them are males. So you need to write that. You need to write that at the end, that what is your observation from the from the results. Okay. So it will be some interesting fact that people want to know from you. And finally, when you are doing the hypothesis testing, you put a summary of the result at the end, that you can put a table and say, I have 3 hypotheses and 3 of these hypotheses are supported, or 2 supported, 1 not supported. So there are different criteria for each software when you can consider your hypothesis to be supported or not supported. So you can go through these slides. There are some tips for presenting of findings. And finally, we move on to discussion and conclusion chapter. So if you want, you can put the discussion in chapter 4 also, it is possible. Or you can also provide in chapter 5, it's up to you. So discussion is basically, you will be discussing what you have found. For example, in our case, the first research question was, does employee dissatisfaction affect employee turnover? So you can start like this, that according to the hypothesis 1, which is there is a positive relationship between employee dissatisfaction and employee turnover, it was found from table number 4 that it has a positive relationship based on the p-value. So that means the hypothesis is accepted or supported. And this similar kind of result is found on earlier studies like Karim et al. 2022. So you need to refer back. If your result is similar with any other researchers, just you need to tell whether it is in line with the previous research or not. So if you find similar result like the other previous researches, so just you put a line, this research, the results are consistent with prior researches by, you put the names of the researchers and the year. And you can provide one-line justification in your case why this one is supported. You just give your own opinion on that. Okay. Similarly, if you found that there is no relationship, so try to find out a study that found the same results like you. Then you can say this result is consistent with that study, but it is inconsistent with these studies. And finally, you can comment why the results are inconsistent in your case. So this is normally we follow in discussion part. Okay. So these are normally the, you can say, typical contents of master's by research or PhD thesis. But for your case, you can just move into the research question in chapter 1 and hypothesis in chapter 3 or 2. And then you talk about your results. So after the discussion, you move on to the contributions of the study. Is quite similar like the significance. It's quite similar like the significance, but already you have done it. So the same thing you need to write more elaborately. I don't know, for 5,000 word limit, you can omit the significance in the thesis part, please. But please talk with the course teacher first, where the format, because this is I'm talking about a very standard format. It doesn't mean that you need to follow like this. You need to follow the format that is provided by your course teacher, obviously. So after the contribution or significance, you need to move on to the recommendations. Please give some recommendation based on your observations. And finally, you need to give some limitations. What are the limitations of the study? So what is the limitation? That you have done the study only on Shanto-Mariam University, but there are other private universities. So this result cannot be generalized for all the Bangladeshi private universities. So this could be a limitation. Or you have chosen only 200 students. So this is how you put some limitations, and you can suggest some direction for future research. Maybe in your case, it's not that important. And finally, you come to a conclusion. You give a conclusion of your whole study, what you aim to do, and finally, what are the things. So it can be just summary of chapter 5, summary of all the things that you find in chapter 4. So you can have a one para conclusion also. So finally, after doing the conclusion part, you need to have references and appendix. So for references, please follow APA style or Harvard style or any style that is instructed by your course teacher. And in appendix, you put the survey questionnaire at least, or if you have any raw data, put the raw data, supplementary information in the appendix. So for example, for PhD, we actually give screenshots of our analysis. We screenshot from the software and put it in the Word file so that they can understand that we have actually run the analysis in the software. So now you have to write the abstract. So abstract within 300 words, I think I already mentioned what you need to do. So these are some of the guidelines that you need to follow when you are writing the abstract for the thesis. Okay, sorry, that's all from my side. I think I have gone very quickly the rest of chapter 2, 3, 4, 5 because of the time constraint. But I am okay to take some of the questions if you have. So I give the floor to now Mahbub sir.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your good presentation and for giving your time to us. Now, question and answer session. If we have any questions, we can directly ask to our keynote speaker, please.
And the questions can be in Bengali, so no problem. আমি বাংলাতে আনসার করতে প্রেফার করব, কারণ অনেক সময় আমাদের কোয়েশ্চেন গুলো আমি জানি আজকের টপিকটা অনেকটা নতুন সবার জন্য।